Welcome to I'll Be There, the ultimate wedding podcast by Priya
and Nim
from Pristine Events. Whether you're a bride-to-be
or a groom gearing up
or just a wedding lover at heart, we've got you.
Welcome back to another episode of I'll Be There. I'm Nim.
I'm Priya.
And today we're going to be talking all about intercultural weddings or fusion weddings. Priya said not to use the term intercultural weddings, but I forgot. Fusion weddings.
So yeah, we do actually loads of fusion weddings.
Yeah.
We had a fusion wedding ourselves.
Yeah. What did we fuse?
We fused Punjabi culture.
And what's my culture, Priya?
Tamil.
Yes, very good.
With Tamil culture. And I think to be fair, we had quite a fairly straightforward job navigating it because both of us are quite chilled, but we do a lot of fusion wedding planning and it can be quite difficult deciding what to take from each part of the culture and also to make both families happy.
Yeah.
Because you don't want one family to feel like you're prioritising their culture over the other, and I think that's where it becomes quite tricky. So I thought it'd be good for us to just kind of dissect kind of some of the fusion weddings that we've done, how we've seen them blend the cultures, and kind of some of the challenges that come along with it. Also, like cool ways in terms of representing both cultures, because that's also really good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, let's go. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge?
I actually think the biggest challenge is your families.
Yeah.
Because, again, this is generalising, as is most of what we say. Like for sort of cultural, verging on religious aspects of the wedding, I just feel that our generation aren't as in tune as our parents' generation were.
Yeah, 100%.
So the things that are important to them aren't necessarily important to us, but in the wedding we need to make sure that they're happy. So even if it's a non-intercultural fusion wedding, you know, the family have a lot of say, and there's still a lot of debate in terms of how many different steps of the wedding, which bits can they cut out in terms of the cultural side of things. So then when you're kind of fusing two different weddings together, it's like what can you cut out?
Yeah.
And what is important to each respective family?
Yeah. And I think alongside that, cost is a really big factor, because especially where sometimes you're almost having like two weddings.
Yeah.
If you can't merge it. And actually we just did a Greek Indian wedding a few weeks ago, which was our first wedding of the year. And they were umming and ahhing about whether they do the Greek ceremony things on a separate day, on the same day. But then obviously you don't want to pay twice for a venue. Like venue hire can be expensive, like 10, 20K. Like to pay that again just to have like a 2-hour ceremony or whatever, like it does add up. Yeah. But then equally, when you're fitting everything into one day, it can feel like an exhausting day. And that day, if we just walk through it in terms of what they had an Indian groom entrance, like a jhana barat. They had an Indian ceremony. They had lunch. They then had a Greek pre-wedding ceremony for the groom, which is called a stolisma, where the groom gets ready for the wedding. Yeah. They then had a Greek blessing.
Yeah, which is essentially a civil ceremony.
Which was a civil ceremony. They then had like confetti and all of that, and had like an hour or two break, an hour and a half break, and then it was drinks, reception, and reception. That's 5 things in a day. The bride and groom had 3 outfit changes. And like that's why, to be fair, like from the beginning, both them and the venue had said they actually said you need to get Pristine, which I thought was really sweet. For all Park were recommending us. But they said you need to get someone to run this day, because there is no way you can fit this all in and stay on time and still, you know, get your photos, get your first look, change all of this stuff and be able to enjoy the day. So I think cost is a really big thing, because part of me is like, guys, don't put it all in one day. It's so tiring. You're not going to enjoy it. But then do you want to pay
You don't want to pay for an additional day, but then also you're also asking whether your guests are free on an additional day. Yeah. To get all the loved ones to be able to be free on the same day is actually quite difficult, especially if it's a period when other people are getting married in and around you. Yeah. So that's also quite tough.
Do you think, like, money aside, money wasn't an issue, do you think in an ideal world, do you think it's better to have like 2 separate days? Like do like a Greek traditional kind of day and then do an Indian traditional day or whatever the other culture is?
I think the idea of it is nice. Yeah. But a part of me thinks you're blending 2 cultures together. So should you not try and blend the wedding together? Because actually what that's doing is being like, look, I am Greek. This is our Greek wedding. I am Indian Hindu. This is my Indian Hindu wedding. Yeah. But actually, you're a couple. You're coming together. What are your kids going to have? Are they going to have an Indian wedding, a Greek wedding, and then whatever other halves they're marrying into? Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying what's right and wrong. Yeah. But is it not better to try and blend if you can. Like, I think it's cool to have like a Greek wedding and then an Indian wedding.
No, I think so too, but then I'm thinking about other weddings. I'm just comparing all the different... I've done loads of fusion weddings.
Yeah.
I'm just comparing it to other fusion weddings. So, for example, our Bodrum wedding, they had the first day, they had like a haldi in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they had a Turkish wedding, which is basically their version of a civil wedding.
Yeah.
And then it went into like a formal reception. And that was kind of like the Turkish day pretty much, apart from the haldi in the morning. And then the next day was like the Hindu wedding and like a after party basically. So they split it because there's kind of almost no way you could merge it, because a Turkish wedding is kind of a civil wedding.
See, that's where I think you can merge things. Like the example that we're giving about the Turkish wedding or the Greek wedding, their wedding is very much a civil ceremony. And I think people who are having Hindu or even, actually not Sikh weddings, but Hindu weddings, they often do also have a civil wedding. It might be a private one. So I think it's fine for that civil to then become the Turkish or the Greek wedding.
Fine.
But I think it's more, for example, like us, where I'm Tamil Hindu, you're Punjabi Hindu. If we had a Tamil Hindu wedding and then a Punjabi Hindu wedding, I think it would have been too much.
Yeah.
Both for the guests, but also ultimately we should be trying to fuse this because we are fusing as one.
So deep. No, yeah, I get that. I guess it just depends how flexible families are with it. Like your mum was quite chilled, especially because I guess your sister had a very traditional Tamil like Hindu wedding.
Yeah.
So I guess your mum was a bit more lax in terms of like elements that she wanted for our wedding.
Yeah, I think it helps being the younger sibling.
Yeah.
I mean that you can't choose that.
So I think that was also helpful. So for context, Nim and I had a Hindu wedding in India and Rajasthan, and in terms of how we did the actual main ceremony, we kind of did a compromise where we did like a pre-wedding religious prayer, like a puja, and that was kind of themed as a more Sri Lankan Tamil style in terms of the decor and like like a few elements that you guys did there, like the instruments that were being played, coconuts being there and things like that. And
Your
then
outfit?
My outfit, yeah, I thought that. So my outfit was basically what I guess traditionally Tamil brides would wear, like a silk red sari. And then the actual Hindu main wedding ceremony was done more in an Indian way.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like more flute music rather than the other instrument, and it being done with a priest that explains in English and things like that, and there was no outfit change and things, and but we did incorporate when we would tie the Mongol Sutra to also tie the thali, which is basically the Tamil version of the Mongol Sutra, so that way we had both, which was really nice. So for our actual main religious ceremony, we did it the Indian way. So like this priest spoke in English, explained all the different...
I don't think that's the Indian way. I think that's just more like a...
Well, Tamil priests don't explain things, right?
Yeah, but I think that's more just a language thing. That's not like a traditional thing. I think at some point in the next like 5-10 years, they might speak in English.
Yeah.
I'm sure like 10 years ago, the Indian priests spoke in Sanskrit only.
Yeah. Well, fine. Anyways, I wanted the ceremony to be explained, which is done more in Indian ceremonies.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have any outfit changes that they normally do in Tamil weddings. We did the regular steps of a ceremony. The only things that we incorporated were for your entrance to have some Tamil music playing. And then it switched back to like more your instrumental, like flute vibes. And then when we did the Mongol Sutra, before that we did the thali, which was like the Tamil version of the Mongol Sutra. So we tied both. And actually we're doing a Tamil and Gujarati fusion wedding in a couple of months, and they asked me the same thing. They were like, we want to tie both, how does it work? And I said, actually it works really nicely. Like when whoever it was, I think it was your mum or your sister, presented it to me, they had like a big tray and it had both on there, and it was really nice just like having both on, and they're very different, so it doesn't look like they look exactly the same, and that was like a really nice way to feel like we were doing what was important to you but also what was important to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how we navigated it. But of course, if you can't do like something beforehand, and if you actually want to just do the ceremony, I know some couples have had 2 priests, so they've had a hint.
See, I'm not a big fan about this. I actually had a chat with the priest at that wedding that we went to recently, and he was talking about this and navigating having 2 priests at the same wedding. I think that's quite tricky.
No, I think it is. You'd have to do like a rehearsal or something. I don't really think you can like wing it on the day.
Yeah.
But I do think it's nice. I think particularly if there are certain things you want done a certain way or explained a certain way, And if your families are quite particular about it, maybe that's the only way to compromise and be able to have both. But if your families are quite chilled, like the couple I just mentioned in a couple of months that are doing a fusion Tamil and Gujarati wedding, they're just having a Gujarati priest, but they've had a really in-depth call with the groom's parents who are Tamil and gone through the additional steps that they're adding in.
Yeah.
And explain what he has to basically explain to the guests.
Yeah. I mean, in that respect, I mean, we're talking as if we're like experts on Hinduism or religion. But there are obviously massive similarities because ultimately it's the same religion. It's just the culture that has shaped how the wedding ceremony has evolved.
Yeah.
But yeah, my view is that you should try and fuse things where you can whilst respecting the traditions of culture and the family's wishes wherever possible.
Yeah, true. But I just think it's not always that easy.
Yeah, true. I think it requires a lot of work.
Yeah.
And flexibility from both sides of the families.
I
think if it's not going to work, then maybe actually just have two
priests, and then that way each family member can't feel like, oh well, we had an Indian priest or we had a whatever culture priest, and they can feel like they had their representation.
Yeah.
What I think is really important though, and I say this to all of our fusion couples, is for you guys at the beginning of your planning to sit down and write down what are the important cultural parts of weddings in general to you.
Yeah.
And then those are the bits that you can then take forward to merge.
Yeah.
Whether that's particular dishes that you want served or particular traditions, like whether that's outfits people have to wear, colours, or it could be certain music choices, or it could just be certain parts in the ceremony that are really important to you in the religious part that you're like, I really need those bits. And if you both do that, you can both then have a chat through about how you can incorporate it rather than coming to the table with every possible thing under the sun.
Yeah.
Because that's when it feels really overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. I think we did that. Perhaps not in the structured way that you're describing, but we definitely did that.
Yeah.
So for me, the red sari was important. The plait in your hair was important. Tiger thali was important. Even with the food, we tried to kind of make it quite a bit of both cultures.
Yeah. That was really nice. Our wedding lunch was basically a whole mix of my favorite Punjabi foods and your favorite Tamil food.
Yeah.
And everyone was it was amazing because it was all the best food in one plate.
Yeah.
I think food's a really big way to show off your culture.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think people are really proud of their cultural food.
I also think that's the best way where, you can get wedding fatigue if you go to a lot of weddings and if you're in the same friend group and everyone's getting married. Yeah. If you're from different cultures, like you said, food is the best way to try and differentiate yourself. Yes. And you don't even have to be from different cultures to have different foods.
Yeah.
But especially in Asian weddings where, similar caterers, similar styles of food, try and do something that's a little bit different.
I think on the food topic though, sometimes it's hard because if you're doing a one-day event and you can kind of only pick one caterer, it becomes a bit tricky in terms of which cuisine do we go for. So some things that our previous couples have done, like a white English groom with a Punjabi Indian bride, and so they had for their reception sit down English food, very traditional, plated, but then they had after party food. They had food trucks that came to be set up and that were all Indian street food. Yeah. So that was a really nice compromise.
I thought that was a really good compromise because I would have thought they would have done it the other way around. Yeah. And that would have been a lot easier. Yeah. Probably for us as well. But I think just generally it would have been a lot easier, right? Have your standard. I think because also the Indian guests would have just naturally just expected your Indian food. Yeah. And then it's relatively easy to get, your pizza vans and English food trucks. Yeah. Them doing it the other way around, I think was nice.
I thought it was really nice. And then I think you felt like you had a formal English style wedding dinner and then you had your fun food afterwards. So that's a really good way to be able to incorporate it. Other things that our couples have done, I think you did an Indian Jamaican wedding, which is sick. What a great mix of cultures. Yeah. We've actually had really fun cultural mixes, haven't we? And they did a fusion wedding and that was so much fun. So why don't we talk about some of the things that they did? Because they did an Indian jam, but then they had Jamaican flags. They had steel drums. Yeah, that's really cool.
The music that they were coming into that was playing on the speaker alongside the steel drums was Jamaican, but it still felt like an Indian barat.
Yeah, because everyone's dancing.
Yeah, and they did it really nicely. They had whistles and flags, which was very, very cool. In terms of the food, they had a mixture in terms of the canapes. They had Indian and Jamaican canapes, and they had your jerk stations for dinner as well as your traditional Indian food. So it was really nice. I think both sides got to try food from their own culture, but also got to try
from the other culture
different food as well, which is always nice.
On that note, though, I would say if you are having two separate caterers, you really have to iron out logistics of like the kitchen space, who's cooking when, just making sure that they've spoken to each other, and like really little things like, okay, so which caterer is in charge of like table chair setup, or who's bringing napkins and, you know, tablecloths. Also, like, are they both bringing their own sets of cutlery and plates and glassware? How is that being mixed up? Like, how is that not being mixed up? Like, those kind of logistics can get really messy when it's two actual caterers versus like a normal caterer and a food truck. So I think having done a few weddings like that, you really have to make sure you've got ideally a planner on board, and if not, then you've really ironed out all those details and they've had that in-depth chat, because what you don't want on the day to be like, oh, I was never told to bring tablecloths, I was never told that I had to bring cutlery, I thought you were bringing the cutlery, because that's when issues can happen. But if it works, it's amazing.
I think in an ideal world, and I've seen it before where companies like Madhu's, La Fresh Co, like they can now outsource certain cuisines, and then they're responsible for everything. So rather than you as the couple / planner booking two different caterers and then just hoping that they'll gel together, have your kind of primary caterer, and then if they want to outsource for different food types, and they're very flexible. Most of these caterers, at least the kind of premium ones are, they're able to sort that out, and I think you as a couple can not have to worry about that.
Not worry about it, yeah, exactly. Because they're things that wouldn't cross your mind anyway as a couple, so it's very easy to get to the day and be like, oh my god, we don't have X, Y and Z.
And also, like, everyone wants to use the fryer, everyone wants to use the fridge. It's just, it's just
chaos in the kitchen
that you don't want to be having to deal with.
Another thing, food-wise, I think is a great way to incorporate culture is, even if your main food is one type of cuisine, like for example, the Greek Indian wedding we just did, they opted to have Indian food as the main food, but then like as their favours, they had this really famous, I can't remember what it's called, this Greek pastry or this Greek cookie, and it's very like traditional Greek, and that was the favour. So
and even the salad for the Indian wedding was Greek salad, which is it's subtle, it's not,
but it's a little nod to the culture, and I think like things like that are small details that I think the other culture will see and will appreciate. So that's kind of a really fun way in terms of food. Other ways to include could be drinks. Now that could be like hot drinks. So for example, in Turkey, they did a lot of like Turkish coffees. They did a lot of like mint teas and things that were quite traditional. But then also certain like cocktails were made with like local products and produce, so that it felt more Mediterranean and more Turkish, and I think that's a really nice way also to incorporate. Similarly, like for Indian weddings, you would have like chai as like the Indian tea. So I think try and get creative with not just the food but the drinks element as well. That's a really fun way to do it. And even names of cocktails, like try and see if you can incorporate things within your languages, maybe like certain words or things that you can then show and do as a tribute to. Then I think, so that's food, and then I think the next place you can kind of add cultural inspo would be things like entertainment. So I think, so for example, again, going back to this Greek wedding we did recently, they had a Greek band and they were playing all the traditional Greek songs. Because
they played throughout the drinks reception. And then they also worked quite well with the DJ. So when they did their entrance music, or their entrance song, the two-piece band were playing, which was really nice.
And it was very traditional Greek wedding vibes, like coming in, walking around in circles, doing the Greek dancing. So much fun. So I think, definitely try and have some sort of live music or live dancers from one of the cultures. I think the other culture really appreciates it as well, to be able to see. Obviously, you mentioned steel drums from that Jamaican wedding. We did a Mauritian wedding recently, and they had like, it might have been steel drums or some form of like Mauritian band basically, and that was really fun. All the guests loved that. So I think try and have something live if you can, if budget permits, because I think people really appreciate seeing that. Or dancers.
And even if you don't have the live music, even with your DJ, just kind of make sure, and any good DJ should be able to play other genres, or at least give them a playlist or a bunch of songs, maybe like 20-30 of like the most popular songs from that culture to incorporate, because it just means that you're inclusive. You're including both sides.
But I think with that, be as specific as possible. Like, don't just say, hey, can you play some Greek music? Like
like send
specific names, because it's quite hard as well to get a DJ that will be able to.
Do you know what I'm thinking about?
Mita.
Yeah. Our wedding where we had an Indian DJ, but then I'd given him a list of 20 or 30 Tamil songs. And for every Indian song that he played, my mate, who's a Tamil, would then go up to the DJ and then tell him that he has to now play a Tamil song. I don't think he appreciated that.
But it is nice to hear both kind of types of music. So I think definitely prep your DJ and also let them know percentage-wise how much you want of general English or Western music, and then how much you want of each cultural music as well, because that will help. So another thing is outfits.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice if you can incorporate some of your traditional outfits somewhere. So, for example, for the Tamil Gujarati wedding, they are wearing a traditional Tamil outfit and then changing into a more Indian style wedding outfit. I know that we've done a Nigerian fusion wedding, and the groom was wearing their wedding attire for the ceremony. So that was really nice to see that with obviously the bride. Even if sometimes if the other family members then take the other cultures into consideration. So for example, we did a Scottish wedding where, well, the bride was Scottish and the groom wasn't, but then his family wore kilts. So things like that are just really nice nods and show. And even for our wedding, for the pre-wedding puja, my family wore traditional Tamil outfits to be able to fit in with the theme and the vibe. And I think it's just nice to make an effort and to show that you're really interested in that person's culture. And and even for again that Greek and Indian wedding we did a few weeks ago, all the Greek side, it was really sweet. They didn't necessarily wear Indian outfits, but they wore Indian accessories, so bangles or jewelry or little bindis. And I think it was just nice that they made an effort to go and get these things to try and fit in with what was going on.
I also think that requires a lot of input from the bride and groom.
Yeah.
For them to help the friends and family on the other half side. To be able to get clothes of that culture. So to go to the relevant shops
and then,
that sell
and
that
actually you should make it a whole fun day out. Be okay, let's go shopping, let's go for lunch before, and we can go and try some traditional Greek food, Turkish food, whatever it is, and then we're going to go and get you outfits, and just make it people really enjoy that. They actually do. I know if you're used to it, it seems long, but if you're not used to it,
it's quite fun.
It's really fun. I'm thinking about
dress up.
Yeah, the person that does my laser was telling me that she was going, her friend's Indian and she's having an Indian wedding, and they all went Indian wedding shopping for outfits, and she said that she had the best day ever. They went for breakfast first, had Indian tea, then they went to try on some outfits, then they had lunch. I don't actually know. Then they had lunch, then they went to go and try on jewelry, then they had dinner, and she said she had the best Sunday ever. And I was so funny, because to me I'm God, spending a whole day doing that sounds so exhausting, but she had the time of her life. So I think you forget that if you're not used to it, it's such a fun and unique experience, and people get really involved. And again, going back to the Turkish Indian wedding we did in Bodrum, all of the bride side who were Turkish loved wearing Indian outfits and loved learning some dances and being able to dance in. They were so in awe of everything. And actually dance is another way you can really incorporate culture. So again, for that wedding, the groom, who was Indian, and his friends and family all learned traditional Turkish boys dancing and did a whole performance, and that was so special. And then similarly, the bride did a surprise dance at the haldi, just kind of coming in and doing a quick little dance. But it's making those efforts. Making those effort for each other to be I really accept you and I accept your culture and I'm really happy to be part of this. And speaking about that couple, they're just the best example of a fusion wedding. The groom also surprised the bride and did his vows in Turkish, which I thought was so sweet that he's learned that language.
Yeah, I've seen that before with another wedding that we did where it was Indian and Swedish.
Yeah.
And she did her vows in Swedish.
Yeah.
Which was really nice.
And if you're going to do it, guys, keep it as a surprise. Because I feel the emotional factor when they're just not expecting it is even more wow.
But more wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel
you sound like that woman from the Indian matchmaking program. Even more wow.
I feel it makes it even more amazing when you don't tell them and you've made the effort to obviously get it translated, learn it, practice the translation, and then be able to say it on the day. That's a really nice way to do that.
Yeah, I think also invites is a nice way. Putting something on the invite that combines both cultures and kind of shows the combination of the two, whether that's in the design, even in the languages that you use. I think that's a good way on the wedding website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I think fusion weddings are the best. I feel we can talk about them for ages. There's so many ideas and cool, inspo out there. I just think you've got to decide what's important to you about each of your cultures, and take that and then inject it into your wedding.
Yeah.
And get creative with it. Like I said, people go to weddings a lot of the time.
It's a great opportunity to do something different.
Yeah, and make it stand out and make it really memorable. Like, we've done a lot of weddings, and some of the most memorable ones are our fusion ones because they are so different.
Yeah.
And even for us, we're like in awe. Like, when I saw the girls Greek dancing and they all dancing in a circle, I was like, I really want to join in. It looks so fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that gives a bit of like food for thought for anyone doing any fusion weddings. But we can definitely do some more episodes on a few more bits to do with that.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Please like, follow, subscribe for more.